the front of this.
Technology for me is still a challenge, as you can see.
Three, two, one, run.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Aragon. I'm the Executive Director of Los Angeles County Department of Human Services. And I'd like to welcome you all to our first two-day summit regarding opioid use disorder. And what I'm excited to hear over the next 2 days is a lot of information, not only around what OUD is, but also how it impacts the individuals, families, and our community. And so I'd like to give a few starting thank yous to some folks who are instrumental in getting this program together. First and foremost, I would like to thank my administrative assistant who is in the back, Janet Trammell, who arranged all the logistics of this piece. So I just want to give her a thank you. And then also Ms. Jeannie Brzezinskis, if you can stand up, Jeannie, and Ms. Shannon Bryan in the back with the Colorado Department of Human Services, who are co-sponsoring this. And these two are really instrumental in bringing the experts and the qualified individuals, the subject matter experts, to the table today and tomorrow. So if we can just give those folks a big round of applause. The next person that I would actually like to thank is sitting in the back of the room, and he's going to talk for just a few minutes, but Commissioner Felix Lopez, who has been instrumental in the and very involved in the C-Corps Region 19 Opioid Council here in Colorado. He came to me several months back and said, I'd like to do something community-wide. And I am more than pleased to say that through a donation that he was able to grant us at DHS, we've been able to provide you with this 2-day training. Some of our other partners are not just the Opioid Council, but also Trinidad State College, who has hosted our event, but also is providing those who need a certificate for your educational hours. We will be providing that through Trinidad State. So thank you, Commissioner Felix, for giving us this opportunity and for allowing us to hear some really, really interesting information to our Trinidad community and our Los Angeles County community. And this is much needed throughout our state. So I'm going to now turn the floor over to Commissioner Lopez to get us started.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and Region 19 Southeast Colorado Opioid Settlement Funds that were negotiated by the Attorney General, I want to welcome each and every one of you. I know that opioid and opioids and disorder are going to be words that we're going to be listening to and hearing throughout today and tomorrow. A couple of years ago, I proposed this idea of having mini grants out of the C-Corps Region 19. These mini grants is going to community representatives. A year ago, we had an activity by the Public Health, and this year, of course, is DHS, and we're going to continue to do that. I served as the chair of the Southeast Colorado Region 19 Opioid Settlement Funds, and I had an opportunity to work with the 9 counties. How are we going to spend these dollars that were settled by from the Attorney General? We have 18 years of funds beginning 2 years ago. So these 18 years are going to give us an opportunity to have activities of this type: education, information, outreach, treatment, and the real thing is communication on having these real conversations at the community level. What is impacting Los Animas County? What's impacting the Region 19? When you look at a map, and later on I would imagine somebody, I actually had a presentation, but because of time, when you look at the map of Colorado, when it comes to opioid, Los Animas County, we are one of the highest per capita when it comes to deaths and usage of opioids. It is incredible what's happening in rural America, in rural Colorado. Recently, I had a conversation with the Behavioral Health Administration, and we'll continue to have these conversations with them asking them to provide services to rural Colorado when it comes to behavioral health for all. One of the challenges that we're having here in Colorado is the agricultural community is being impacted so much because legislative impact and measures have put so much stress on the ag community. Anytime you look at the legislation that is coming out of the Gold Dome, it's putting a whole lot of pressure on farming and ranching communities. Their mental health, their behavioral health, and who knows what else is being impacted. Let me go back for a second and take the liberty to also mention that the involuntary lockdowns that we had during COVID exacerbated this particular problem. I had an opportunity I served as the president of all Colorado counties, and one of the things that we had when we sat across the governor's office representatives is, one of the things that happens is one size does not fit all. Let the counties work directly with their communities to manage the pandemic that we went through. So I wish we had enough data, and maybe Lynn does have that data, before the pandemic, post-pandemic, when it comes to opioid usage, not only in the state of Colorado, but nationwide. What happened? And one of the, I also serve on the National Association of Counties. I'm the Colorado representative. So I travel to Washington every now and again, and one of the things that we keep hearing is this conversation. What is going on in your county? What are you doing when it comes to opioids? What's happening with behavioral health? This is not a phenomenon that is impacting Las Animas County alone, Colorado alone. This is something that we talk about at the national level. Recently, I was in Washington, D.C., and one of the conversations that we had was so tangible. We had testimonials from individuals that have been there, went there. They find themselves in a position where communities like ours, we come together to give this touch of hope. And I want to thank each and every one of you, law enforcement, public health, all of you, city leaders, and housing, all of you that are here today. Each and every one of us brought something to the solution of this whole thing. And opioids is not only impacting us financially, but it's impacting us spiritually, it's impacting us in every which way of life that we come in contact with. So today, as we go through the process, I want you to be cognizant of what's happening, not only once again here in this county, but our community comes together. One of the things that the message that we give as county commissioners to state government is, we want to have, in a sense, a seat at the table. When you're having these tough conversations and appropriations of dollars, we want to be right there with you. We also are going to keep pushing back when the state of Colorado tries to take away the control of your local government elected officials. You elected them. You elected us to be the voice. And so whether I'm speaking in Washington, whether I'm speaking in Colorado, where I'm speaking whatever, one of the things is that we are accountable to our communities. And we need to bring communities together to do this kind of thing. So I can only imagine what kind of activity I met with Mr. Aragon yesterday, and I was telling him, be ready because next year I'm going to ask for $25,000. This mini grant, it was $10,000. But I want us to keep on doing these activities every single year because we want to keep track of what's happening. How are we impacting these issues in a positive perspective and in a positive manner? Let me go back for a second. Behavioral Health Administration, one of the things that we have asked them to do is they created a new department, hire individuals. Ms. Gonzalez and I from Public Health have had this conversation. She had to start the program pretty much on her own. Behavioral health, we have these programs at the statewide level, but I think at the end of the day, they have to reach every corner of Colorado, because these challenges are happening everywhere. So as we go through the conversation today, the next speaker is going to be so phenomenal. I have had an opportunity to listen to her, but here is one thing. I was at a meeting about a month ago, carfentanil. I didn't even know what that was. That was the first time I heard about it. So I began to do a lot of research. Carfentanil, whether it's already here in Los Animas County or not, who knows? But it is so much more powerful than the regular fentanyl, than cocaine, than heroin, than these kinds of things. So what is happening on the streets, and the tremendous challenge that I want to look at law enforcement, that they have to mitigate, to refer, and begin the process of detoxification. So we need, of course, the spiritual, we need the detox, we need every hand to be part of this particular process. And I'm going to close with this. The conversation for us began some years ago. I will continue to be a voice wherever we go because I want to see what happened. That pandemic that actually we went through, God forbid we ever go through another one. Because that put us as a country, as a county, and as a state in some places that we didn't know how to navigate. The communities were saturated with questions. We continue to meet. Keep Trinidad safe. One of the agency local groups that we have had is we continue the conversation. How do we come together to provide this opportunity to at least guide those individuals through the proper mark? Through SECOR Region 19, which we are part of, we are going to be having a press release in Pueblo. I'm hoping it's going to be in the month of June. And these press releases, we collect all the data. How many RFPs we awarded, how many people have been impacted in a positive manner from this particular, the dollars that we are awarding, and what are the services that we are providing. So when we do that press release, we'll be there. We're going to be putting the stats, we're going to put the data together by county. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is a challenge, and this is, once again, impacting probably all the families that we know someone that knows someone that knows someone. So, on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners here in Los Animas County, I want to thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart for being here today. This is going to be a very powerful information today. Ask questions, get clarification, exchange business cards. Networking is what's going to get us to the point that we need to be. So I want to thank you, Mr. Aragon. You and your team are so fantastic, and thank you for putting this workshop together. Marcy, thank you for all the work that you do. And Kim, keep it going. There is so much information that this community has. And one of the things that we do is rural Colorado cares for its own. So thank you, good morning, and once again, welcome each and every one of you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do want to also point one additional, and I apologize for forgetting this, but Ms. Marcy Key in the back there has been part of this planning process as well, and she's been very instrumental with Keep Trinidad Safe and keeping us connected with our health department. So thank you, Marcy, to you and your team. Everything as well. At this time, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, Lynn Riemer, or as the Youth Across America know her, the drug lady. You got that right?
You got that right.
Good. Okay. Lynn holds a Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry and Biology and is internationally recognized speaker, trainer, and advocate on issues relating to substance abuse. Lynn is the president of Act on Drugs, Inc., a nonprofit organization with a mission to educate parents, teens, and professionals about addictive and psychoactive substances, both legal and illegal, which are available in every community, unfortunately. With her in-depth chemistry knowledge of drugs, having served with DEA and on the North Metro Drug Task Force in her engaging style, she brings a real personal and vivid face to this issue. With over the past 20 years, Lynn has spoken regularly with students, school staff, parents, communities, companies, and governmental agencies about drug awareness, recognition, and prevention. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present Ms. Lynn Riemer.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me with this microphone? Is it okay? Okay. Yes. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be here. I am Italian and loud, so you will hear me, but I also talk fast. And if that does get out of control, just yell at me or throw something at me, and I will try to slow down. And so this is going to be very, very informal. If you guys have questions about anything at any time, please ask. If you want to add anything, feel free to do that as well, because this is just a learning experience for all of us. And so first up, when you talk about drugs, I think you should always talk about all the fun ways, and that's not working there, what did I do, that people use drugs today. I don't know if it's to change. I don't know a lot about computers, but I do know how to blow them up. So if you want to have some serious fun, we can try to do that today. Oh, don't make me do this through interpretive dance, because that'll be really bad. I'm a white girl and I cannot dance.
Oh, come on, I can do it.
Yeah. Are we going to serve alcohol if I start dancing? Because that'll make it look better.
I will say last night, Lynn and I had an opportunity to have dinner together. And her whole premise of the introduction was, we're going to go into pot shops and get kicked out. So if that gives you any ideas what Lynn does for fun.
For me, it's not training unless something goes wrong. So you can blame it on me. There's the share. And I don't know how it got 5 to go 4 different ones open. That's what you put it on. Yeah. It's not even going on. So we're going to go back and close all the way down.
There we go.
Okay, let's try this again. The best way to start talking about drugs is all the fun ways they're using them today. And really, your imagination needs to be endless, because no matter how they get a drug in the body, they are going to get high. Now, we know the basic ones, right? Ingestion. You got to eat it. They're popping pills. They're popping capsules. The world wants to thank us for the marijuana edibles. But everything today, guys, is an edible. Absolutely every drug out there is in gummies and everything. There are tinctures out there, obviously from the marijuana shops, the CBD, the THC, but you now even see a lot of kratom tinctures as well. And you just drip in the back of your throat and you swallow it. You could put it in your applesauce or in your coffee. Blotter paper is very, very common. Most people think of LSD. With blotter. If you don't know what blotter is, it's a normal sized piece of paper. It has 1,000 little tabs this big, and then they soak it in LSD, and then they tear off a tab and they dose it. So if someone is talking about dose, tab, or strip, a strip is 10 doses, they're talking about dropping acid. But you can put any drug you want on paper today. The big one they were putting on blotter paper, I don't know, you guys remember a few years ago, before all this big amount fentanyl was coming in through Mexico as a powder. People were stealing from home hospice and hospitals fentanyl patches, and they chew on them and overdose. Well, what they do, they squeeze some juice out on blotter to try to dose it so they would not overdose, because if you eat the whole thing, it's just going to drop you. So the way they get a lot of drugs in jail is on paper. They write a loved one to their person there, soak it in LSD. You could dissolve coke or meth or heroin and alcohol and soak it on the paper, and if they don't catch the powder, it gets through. You sell the paper and you eat it. So paper is very, very common, and most people know blotter paper. Parachuting, you see a lot with the designer drugs, the bath salts, and when the drug lady says bath salts, I ain't talking about products at Bed Bath Beyond and Bath and Body Works. That's salt. Don't snort it; it'll cause your nose to bleed. A kid said when he did that and yelled at me that he got his butt whipped because he was snorting bath salts and his nose was bleeding. So I told him I'd never tell you to do that. So I'm sorry that happened. But bath salts are the synthetic amphetamines coming out of Mexico or coming out of China. Very, very pure, and they're showing up in products at your gas stations. So much fun, and none of this is going to test. So parachuting is that crystalline substance where they tie it up in tissue paper, and it looks like a parachute. Now you see this at a lot of clubs and raves at Coachella, up at Sturgis, and what they do is they bomb it, B-O-M-B. They throw it in the back of their throat and they swallow. And I like to say they get lucky that first time, because we all know tissue paper and moisture, they just do not go together. And I can't tell you how many ER docs and nurses I train across the nation that say, oh yeah, look, we see it. They're in the hospital with a ball of dope stuck in their throat and they've aspirated on vomit because it causes them to gag and choke. And they think when they're gagging and choking, that's a good time to drink water to wash it down. And it just goes really bad. So bombing or parachuting is the designer drugs, just tied up in tissue paper. They snort absolutely everything today. All the powders that are out there, obviously, all the prescription drugs are crushed up and snorted as well. Today, they're putting it in nasal spray, and to me, this is genius. Because if I had some nasal spray on me, it's aqueous, a neutral pH, crosses my membrane nicely. It has no odor of the drug, no drug paraphernalia, and you got to figure out what's going on. I first learned about this a number of years ago when we had a lot of overdoses in the Denver metro area in middle schools with heroin. And I went in and talked to one, and a kid came up to me and he said, hey, Lynn, you want to hear how we got the heroin in the school? I said, I would love to. How'd you do it? He goes, we dissolved it in saline solutions, nasal spray. We called it monkey water, and we all started snorting it, and all those kids overdosed. So nobody knows about nasal spray. So if you're in homes or you're dealing with people, when you stop people, if you see nasal spray, please open it. If it's brown, that's not normal. Tar heroin's in there. Maybe it has a cloudiness to it. Maybe a cut of a drug does not dissolve real well in water. Or maybe it's a color because someone threw a prescription pill in there. But it's just genius because it crosses the membrane under the influence and no odor or drug paraphernalia. So that is always a fun one. There are things out there they are snorting, like all this marijuana nasal spray now. You can actually buy fentanyl nasal spray online, which blows my mind. They sell it as a beginner dose. I didn't know there was a beginner dose of fentanyl. Maybe it's just me. But you can access everything online today. And there is all of this out there. And again, just flies under the radar. A nice way to use it. Here's a really fun one. It's one of the newest things I just found. Welcome to nasal inhalation devices known as vaping right up your nose. And so this is a new device where you just stick it in your nostrils and you're vaping. You get that nice vapor in. It's a lot of nicotine, and then you blow the vapor out. And again, you look at that and you'd have no idea. You're like, what is this? It's a new nasal inhalation vape. So just get ready for all the chaos that continues to change out there. Back to the fun and excitement. They are smoking everything. Obviously, vaping is a big issue. They vape absolutely everything today. Do I just hit these off as they pop up to me?
Yeah.
Or do I care?
No.
Just hit deny? Okay. That's right. Just changed everything. It's all good? Okay. So they are vaping everything today. They are vaping caffeine, melatonin, DMT, all kinds of stuff. Obviously, marijuana out there. So vaping is a big problem. Freebasing drugs on aluminum foil is huge. You put powders on there. They'll put a pill on there, a prescription drug, and as it gets hot, it spins. So you'll see spinning marks, black spinning marks on aluminum foil, and that's a big clue. Usually with burnt aluminum foil, you'll see a rolled dollar bill, or you may see a straw cut in half. They're called tuners, and as it gets hot, they just slide it under the vapor, suck it in through the straw, and they're basically smoking it. So, they do vape absolutely everything today. They are vaporizing alcohol, and this is whoops, I'm stuck again on here. Good, change it over there. Is it jammed again? Probably something I touched. You have to go back on. Oh, there it goes. Okay, how'd you magically do that so when I touch it, maybe it'll work? Would you like to be my Vanna of the
I'll be your Vanna.
computer? Yes, Vanna. Thank you, Vanna. Change the slide, please. Can I get a vowel? So they are vaporizing alcohol today. There are AWOL devices out there. It stands for alcohol without liquid. They're kind of like a nebulizer. You guys know a nebulizer? It has a little device. You put your medicine in, you plug it to the oxygen, and you breathe it in. Very similar. You put your alcohol in there, plug it in, it bubbles it, the vapors become active, you breathe it in with oxygen, and one puff, instantly intoxicated. Their eyes are going to gloss, their face is going to morph. Did we mess them up? Oh, kind of, yeah. Leave it on me. Oh, we're all good? We're good?
Yeah, you're good.
Actually, can we pause for 2 seconds?
We need to pause. Time out.
No one on my computer, so he's just gonna make it. We're gonna do it quick so people online can see your slides. They just see your face.
Talking on this
Oh.
slide, though. I think if we keep talking on this slide, we'll get it going again. What's not working? They cannot see it on the platform.
Whatever you put it in, we couldn't change the slides. So we changed it.
Just share your screen. Okay, you have share screen too. That's just a Zoom setting.
Good luck.
Right here, just check the date. Slides change.
Okay. Okay, thank you guys for your patience with this. So they just breathe it in, instantly intoxicated with one puff. Why did they do this? Obviously, no hangover, they say, but you're going to have a hangover from this. What happens is it stays in the brain for about 30 minutes. They come down from that, and then they puff again. So doctors are seeing deadly blood alcohol content with this across the nation in the ERs, like 0.35, 0.4, because once it comes out of the brain and they're kind of down again, they think, oh, I'm okay, puff again, but it still stays in the blood, and it becomes very high blood alcohol content. It is marketed online to women for weight loss because you're inhaling it instead of actually drinking it. You can't neutralize it by vomiting either. So, you guys are looking at me going, Lynn, we're in rural Colorado. Where would I get an AWOL device? Well, here's the good news. You don't need one. So I like to give homework. So you guys' homework today is go home and try this because it'll absolutely blow your mind. Now, I'm not saying to pump it, but if you do want to huff it, hey, take a picture, take a video. I'll send you all over the world with me. We'll put you up there and make you famous. But I tell you this because we have kids doing it in the high schools in Denver area. You get a water bottle, soda bottle, Gatorade bottle, dry it out and put this much of your favorite alcohol in. Now, no foo-foo stuff, okay? No Bailey's Irish Cream, no Kahlua, no Amaretto, no Black Russians. Go hardcore, man. Get some nice scotch. Maybe a nice vodka, some whiskey, gin if you're into that. And all you need is this much. And put it in the bottle, put a hole in the lid. Find your ball pump or tire pump if you have a compressor in your garage. That's awesome because you just put it in the hole, push the button, or start pumping. And as soon as that bottle gets nice and hard and firm, you remove the ball pump or the air compressor and you will hear a swoosh. And you watch that vapor go right into, the liquid go right into a vapor, put your mouth on the hole and puff it in and instantly intoxicate it. And all I can say is thank God this was not around when I was a kid. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one in here that stole alcohol as a kid. I'm glad I was not an only child. Because if you're an only child, I don't know how you got away with that. But my brother would decide what we drank. My sister would mark the line, I'd hold the cup, and then you fill it with water, right? Because you mark it with your fingernail, they know, you try to erase it, all that. You need this much alcohol. And you think your kids are upstairs playing Fortnite, they might be just a little lit. And so this is very common, kids doing it in the schools. So if you're finding empty water bottles or soda bottles with a hole in the lid, smell it. If it smells like alcohol, someone is vaping it, and it's very easy to do. Now, they're going to blow breathalyzer like crazy because of the vapor and all, but it just flies under the radar in a nice way to be using drugs. More fun and excitement is the nummies, transdermally. Most of the nummies are known, if anyone's here old enough to remember the 80s and all the cocaine in the bathroom at clubs. where people would walk in, lick their finger, dip it in, and then rub it on their bottom gum, and it numbs it. It's a Novocaine, lidocaine, it's a numbing agent, so they call it nummies. Now they can do it with the transdermal patches of fentanyl, but it's going to go through their skin probably too, but they rub it on their gums. They'll do it with some of the bath salts as well. So just rubbing things on your gum. Oral is a great way to use drugs and no drug paraphernalia as well. But we have the marijuana patches of every favorite cannabinoid you could ever have, Dilaudid fentanyl patches, and then all the tinctures and stuff and lotions now in the pot shops that you can just rub on your skin. They inject everything anywhere, so just look at veins. Obviously, we know they tat up a lot on their forearm to hide the track marks, but if you've noticed, a lot more people are getting tats on the carotids. And so it's just a nice way to tat up and hide them. So anywhere there's a vein, places you definitely want to look is between the fingers and toes and top of their feet, because nobody tends to look there. It's a nice place to hide it. The groin area is a nice place too, unless they're on bath salts or the high-end marijuana running around half naked, they tend to have some pants on. And so anywhere you can find a vein, you are going to start seeing track marks and stuff. So obviously injection is huge, but the fun ones are the mucous membranes. And you know, they do put drugs in their eyes. Kids ask me all the time, hey Lynn, you ever drop acid in your eyes? And I'm like, no, because that's downright stupid and it's going to burn. But I made it 5 times. Does that count? They're like, you make drugs? I said, yeah, all the time. And so we arrested a lady who was high on meth. And she told us when she needed a hit, she'd wet her fingers, grab a crystal, and just put it in her eyes. And I'm like, oh, that's got to burn. But again, no drug paraphernalia, and I'm under the influence. Vicks inhalers. You guys know Vicks inhalers? They have L-methamphetamine in them. D-meth is what's on the street. Peach and P-dope was LD, L&D. Well, what they'll do is they'll get them, and they'll drill a hole in the back, put it this close to their buddy's eyes at a rave and blow it. And that meth mist blows in their eyes. It is going to burn from the menthol like crazy, but they blow it in their eyes and their eyes just pop up. So a nice way to use it. So if you see Vicks inhalers with a hole in the back, that's not normal. If you see a lot of them, they're probably making meth with it, because I've been on a lot of meth labs where they use that to make meth. It's pretty easy to do. So the eyes is very common, but the fun really started in about 2002, 2003 with methamphetamine, where they dissolve it in warm water or and put in a baby snot sucker, turkey syringe, or a small syringe, bend over and have someone shoot it up their anal cavity, and they called it booty bumping. Yeah, it works like a suppository very, very fast. Today they call it boofing and plugging, and they plug everything. They're soaking tampons in alcohol and sticking them right up the keister. And this is a great way. They do it in schools like crazy because there's no odor on the breath. It's coming up the other end. They're intoxicated, and you're like, what is wrong with you? Where's the alcohol? But you're not smelling it. So if you have one of those situations where you're going through and it's like, I know you're drunk, take a straw or take a pen apart and tell them to blow. Because it will blow a breathalyzer, but you got to get that last breath, that alveoli breath. So just have them blow. Now you want it in a straw or a pen to focus at your face. Because if you just go blow all it out, it's going to dissipate, right? But it's when it's that last breath right by your face and you smell that reek of alcohol, your question is, what'd you stick up your keister? And their question is, what the hell's a keister? And just enjoy that damn conversation. And so, but this is very, very popular. I was in a pawn shop and I found these. Marijuana tampons, 160 milligrams right up the keister. And they were in a little Altoid box and stuff. And so, you know, it's all out there. When I was buying these, I got thrown out because I was with a friend from Juvenile Diversion out near up in Bridgeway, and the lady, when I found them, kept hitting the counter saying, "Stop calling them tampons; they're suppositories." I'm like, "Oh, I got her." So I looked at my friend Shannon. I said, "Hey, will your husband stick one of these up his ass if we party tonight?" She goes, "Yeah, he does everything I say." I'm like, "Right on." And I said, "Hey, Shannon, do you want to buy some of these tampons too?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, I gotta buy some tampons." And the lady hits the counter and says, "Stop calling them tampons. They're suppositories." And I'm like, "Man, these tampons are so nice." And she did it again. And I said, "Look, man, you see this gray hair? I've never seen a string on a suppository. These are tampons." Well, now we have rectified a suppository. And so, everything goes up that little keister, and it's just a nice way to hide it. And so, you have to kind of look around and look at things today because everything can easily, they'll dissolve heroin in water and stick it on a tampon right up the keister. And again, here we go, they can do with fentanyl and anything. So where there's a will, there's a way. So when it comes to using drugs, you need to have an imagination because it's always changing. So, to talk about the opioid epidemic, there are 7 classes of drugs. These are narcotic analgesics. They are a painkiller and depressant in one. What does that mean? It's going to lessen our physical and emotional pain. Well, everything slows down. Heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, brain functioning. The big one is the breathing. Where do they come from? The poppy plant. On the top left there, that grows in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Mexico, and China. And after huge fields of poppy flower, they pay someone to slit one side of the pod. This resin starts oozing out. In 5 days, that turns black, and that is opium. And then they scrape it off the pod, and they sell it all over the world. Opium is big, big money. Because in opium, there are 5 strong painkillers. You guys probably know 2 are the big 3. You guys know codeine, purple drink, scissor, Lynn. Very, very popular with kids. They sing songs every time I talk about it in the schools. Morphine is in there, and we make heroin out of morphine. Heroin's a morphine derivative, so when you fail a drug test for heroin, it doesn't say heroin. It says diacetylmorphine. Thiamine is what they use to make all our prescription painkillers. Oxycontin, Vicodin, Percodan, Percocet, Lartab, Opana, hydrocodone, hydromorphone, all that sort of stuff. And then there's fentanyl in red. And fentanyl's in red because it's man-made. And all man-made synthetic drugs are more potent than plant-derived. So fentanyl is a lot more potent than codeine. It's about 50 to 100 on the morphine, 40 to 85 on the heroin, and depending on your prescription painkiller, a lot or a little. And so these are the indicators that people need to know around narcotics today, and you will see it happen very fast. With fentanyl being so pure, you're definitely going to see it. It's very similar also to alcohol because this says depressants and narcotics. The class of depressants is alcohol, Xanax, sedatives, are date rape drugs, and sleeping pills, where they get a groggy, sleepy expression, memory problems and confusion. They slur their words in the speech. I like to say with fentanyl and narcotics, it's going to be amplified big time, where like they're just leaning against things, trying to hold themselves up, and they kind of look at you like this because they can't keep their eyes open. They're going in and out of on the nod, where you're interviewing them, they're talking like this, and their head just falls, and they'll go back, and they'll go, give you one of these and just go out. So they're going in and out of consciousness. On the nod is huge. Their speech is very slow and thick and slurred. If you have them open their eyes, because we yell at them all the time, open your eyes. They give you one of these. If you see a tight pinprick, that constricted pupil, this is a class of drugs that does it, and it tells you you've got to watch them. And so behind the scenes, no one thinks about it, is the blood pressure is lowering and the heart rate can become faint. And just that in and of itself will cause you to drop to the floor. And so the overdose signs that everyone has to know today is a cold and clammy skin. It does drop the body temperature dramatically, where if you touch them, they're cold and clammy. If they look like they're sleeping, open an eye and see a pinprick, they're in trouble. They're extremely drowsy with loss of consciousness. They're not having a good conversation with you. Why are they in this state? They're in this state because narcotics cause our breathing to become slow and shallow. And it is very important that we breathe cyclically because what do we inhale? Oxygen. More importantly, what do we exhale? Carbon dioxide. Well, when you have shallow breathing, the oxygen lessens in my lungs because I'm not taking enough in, but the carbon dioxide is building up and I'm not blowing enough out. So carbon dioxide will stay in my lungs, go back in the blood, attack my brainstem, and make me become sleepy. When I fall asleep, low oxygen, high carbon dioxide results in death. The number one sign that someone is not breathing shallow, cyclically is the lips. First part of body turn blue, second is the fingertips. So if you're in there and they're on the nod, and their lips are blue and they're out of it and you can't wake them up, they are really struggling. You may see a foam cone as well from the lack of pressure in their lungs. The foam starts just coming up. And so those are some of the indicators. There are legit medical conditions that may mimic some of this, that may cause some confusion. Obviously, extreme fatigue. They're not going to be thinking right or speaking right. Recent head injury, if they have diabetic reaction with low blood sugar or severe depression can be some as well. These are the drugs that have a step down. They do impact your speech, your coordination, mobility. There are legit medical uses for this. So we know many functioning addicts start by, getting hurt or some pain or have these pills, and then they build up a tolerance and need more, and things kind of get out of control. There are a very high rate of abuse. And it's opioids that are used to treat addiction, and it's our step-down drugs, methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol is a shot and seem to be working really well. There's a lot of new information recently coming out about the amount of use in Suboxone in the prisons, because it's very easy to sneak in there, and some people in prison were addicted to opioids before they went to prison. Some get hooked on them during prison, and so Suboxone and methadone are easily available there. Obviously being in prison is not a fun thing. A lot of depression, a lot of peer pressure, conditions just aren't right, and so, it becomes available. What they'll do is they will roll the strips there with a AA battery to kind of thin it out, and then just cut it into small pieces and sell it. People will dissolve it in water and snort it. And when they do that, it is very, very intense rather than waiting for it to go sublingually through the mouth. So they can even do the dissolving it on the streets as well, because people build up a tolerance or a dependence on this, and then they get it in methadone clinics. It's not something that's just prescribed a lot by doctors. So indicators you might see is some abscesses from injecting drugs. Heroin is very dirty, causes infections. Needles are dirty, skin is dirty. So if you see marks like this, these are signs of intravenous drug use. If you see it on a line of a vein, a lot of times their veins collapse, and then they'll go as far away from the heart as they can and try to get it open. A lot of times they can't find a vein. They'll dump it in the bicep or thighs to get in the blood, go to the brain, get me out of withdrawal, now I start again and try to find veins, and then they'll go to the feet farther away. So these are just signs of injection. Have them stick their tongue out, because it causes a hyperpigmentation of the tongue if you're a narcotic user. And so you'll get some darkening on the tongue as well. Obviously, just look at them. The hands are a very popular place to inject. These are some injection sites, and all drugs that can be injected will do this, where they get what they call poppers, a little fluid buildup, and then kind of pick at it sometimes. It can get infected as well. Here's a real disgusting one from a doctor. Something about what's in a morphine tablet causes major vasoconstriction and vascular obstruction. So that's pretty gnarly. Hopefully just the doctors have to see that, and the paramedics. But those are just some indicators to kind of look for. Precautions while you're working with people today. Beware of powders. Assume fentanyl is in everything until someone tells you otherwise. Make sure you wear nitrile gloves, because with latex everything goes through it, plus all the reactions to that. And pay attention to how you're feeling. If your gloves become contaminated, take them off and get some new ones. You can wear an N95 mask. Seems to work really well. The ones for COVID, they go on the strip on the top and the bottom. You buy them for asbestos too. Fentanyl's a pretty good molecule. Just avoid it becoming airborne, because breathing it in obviously is a big, big issue. So, someone's doing drugs in a house, and we learned it a lot from methamphetamine. If you're smoking any drug in a house, it's going to settle everywhere. That vapor settles, it's in the vapor. There is contamination. You can get it airborne by walking or wrestling on the carpet. So, be careful of that. Just wash your hands with water, soap and water, get it off quickly. Hand sanitizer absorbs everything in. I would say personally, but you make your decisions, don't sit on the furniture. They hide needles and drugs and paraphernalia and stuff under the cushions. Maybe the cushions have some drug residue on it as well. So just be safe, and have Narcan for you, obviously, and then provide it for any clients that may need it. Other precautions, just know the background of the people that you're dealing with, and you'll know them best. What are they a substance user, and what's their route of ingestion? Are they smoking, shooting up, snorting, popping pills? Anything like that. Just look for the paraphernalia that shows that. When you see paraphernalia in a house, that means we have a drug user. That's all it means. You got to figure out what drug it is that they're using. Obviously, burnt spoons and a lot of needles and burnt aluminum foil are very, very common with a number of drugs. Their groggy sleep expression. Are they going on the nod? Rolled dollar bills, or if they're smoking dope through money, you'll even see burns on the straws. But you see a browning on the dollar bill there from all the heat as well. More fun and excitement. the paraphernalia, the empty blister packs, we're going to talk about that. Small baggies with residue. Balloons are very common with tar heroin. And, then the little bindles, they fold drugs into money all the time and fold that up, so be careful around that. And just pay attention to how you're feeling. If you're seeing open drugs and paraphernalia and you start feeling different a little while after you're in there, just go outside and take a pause and take a breath and kind of figure out what's going on. Is your throat scratchy? Are your eyes runny? Is your nose runny? Maybe you just recommend, if you feel safer, to speak to them outside. But safety first, and listen to your gut. The bottom line is just pay attention to what you see, hear, and smell. And a lot of this will be in the handout that I provided. And just take care of you. And Urban Dictionary, if you're hearing terminology, you're not sure what they're saying, Urban Dictionary is great with that. The big one right now for kids is plug. A plug is a drug dealer. And so plug is huge in the schools. And the teachers are like, why are they talking about plugs? I'm like, they're talking about drug dealers. And so Urban Dictionary is great. You guys know purple drink, scissor, they drink it. They mix with alcohol. Sometimes they mix with Jolly Ranchers and Sprite. And then they get kind of zoned out. It starts affecting them. They get sleepy, can't stand up straight, so they start leaning. But everything with this starts to slow down. It's very, very common with kids. We have a lot of problems in the metro where kids will bring it to school in Nalgene bottles and just drink it and then kind of go out. So mixing it is a problem. So if you see empty bottles, coating, cough medicine coating, that's a clue. You see styrofoam cups with purple drinks in it and candy around it. That's another big clue as well. But the fentanyl on the street is a very fine powder. Comes out of Mexico. The precursor comes out of China, and they make boatloads of it, and it is super, super pure and fine. First responders wear a lot of protective gear. There have been bolos out from the Department of Human Services that they're worried this powder is going to become a weapon of mass destruction, where you just get it aerialized somehow, and it could be a big problem. Obviously, they're making up all the rainbow fentanyl and stuff, marketing to our kids. But now we're seeing a lot of analogs of fentanyl as well. The car fentanyl is a big one. We just had a huge drug bust in Delta, right on, what's the green holiday? March 19th. St. Patty's Day, of a bunch of pills and powder. And I was like shocked. So, that's going to start traveling through everywhere, and it could come right this way for sure. So if you have not seen How Much Will Kill You, there is your visual. And it doesn't take a whole lot of this pure fentanyl to hurt you. And it's pretty hard to measure too. So, this is a big, big issue. The comment about drugs, I know that a little while ago they released that since 2017, more drugs per pound are taken out of the state of Colorado than any other state. Second most drugs is California. Are we larger or smaller than California? We're this size of it, but we have all the major highways, north to south, east and west, down through here, everywhere. And so they also announced at the beginning of this year, Colorado is number one in cocaine use in every age of use for 2 out of the last 3 years. So I can tell you the coke our kids love in the metro area is off the charts. And so cocaine is huge. You guys finding a lot of cocaine down here?
It's coming back.
It's coming back, yeah. Cocaine, big, big issue, especially with kids. And so I think because high's a lot less than meth and other substances. But as far as the narcotics, they're pressing it into pills that people recognize. And it's ones that we know are abused. Obviously, people build a tolerance up to all the narcotics. It started with the blue 30s there. That's the Percocets. It started with OxyContin. Anybody watch all the things about OxyContin and how they got blown up in the Purdue Pharmaceuticals? Very interesting. Well, after Purdue got blown up, it's the perks, and we used to buy them on the street all the time when I worked at the task force. Someone talk to me.
Oh. Not sure.
Oh.
Well, I think you're good.
Oh, someone is speaking to me. I'm like, maybe you and I are hearing things.
It's the Percocet.
It's the Percocet. I don't know.
I think you're good.
Did you hear someone back there?
No. It might be through Zoom.
I'll see if anyone's mic is on.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Like, this is a new experience for me. The computer talks to me. You guys laugh at me. Yeah. I'm gonna have some problems going home. But anyway, those are Percocets, and they were $1 a milligram, so that's a $30 pill. 80s or $80 pills. DEA Denver came out and said it costs the cartels 4 cents to make a pill today, and DEA Denver's buying them for $1. And so, DEA's not going to turn around and sell them. They buy tons. We would analyze them when I was a forensic chemist with DEA. But say I become a drug dealer and I buy 100,000 pills for $1 each. Does my boss care? Well, I'm going to turn around and sell them for $5. Does my boss, the cartel, care that I'm going to kill half my clientele? Because 7 out of 10 pills on our street have a toxic amount of fentanyl in them. But does the cartel care? What do they care about? Money. And so these are very, very cheap for them to make. And going very cheap here, Arizona, they're $1.50 that they're buying them for. So, this is very cheap. And again, people recognize them. Don't pay attention. Oh, yeah, it was blue and had an M in a box. That's it. And they try it, getting it on the street or other places. It's just going to be laced today. Adderall is a very popular drug for abuse. It's used a lot in the colleges as a party drug. It's called dirty rolling, where they snort Adderall and then they drink themselves to death. What happens is Adderall is an amphetamine salt, so it's going to stimulate them, and they're not going to feel the negative effects of alcohol as they drink it. And the cause of death is reported as alcohol poisoning with the presence of amphetamine in the blood. If you hear that, someone was snorting or smoking Adderall and drank themselves to death. And so the kids use it in the high schools now, and even in the colleges to get higher SAT, ACT, and scores to get into graduate school as well for the GREs. And, they can get a dependence on it and need more. And if their brain flips and loves it and their doctor doesn't prescribe it, where are they going to buy it? On the street. And it's just will drop you today. So it's ones that people recognize for abuse. And then obviously Xanax is huge. Very, very popular drugs used for anxiety, panic attacks, depression. And they just mock that too because people will recognize it, not question it, not test their drugs or anything. And so causes a lot of deaths too. So they just put it in everything that people will recognize, and it has no odor and it has no taste. So unless you're testing, you have no idea. All this candy-looking stuff and colored pills and stuff start popping up everywhere. They are pressing them with logos, and usually if a logo's on a pill, it should be ecstasy. We have had many deaths in this state from young people in clubs and stuff in Denver and Aurora buying what they thought was X, and it actually was stamped with fentanyl. And so, they're marketing it to things that people will recognize. And this is the stuff that drives me crazy. This stuff that looks like candy. And it's marketed to our kids. We've never seen prescription drugs that pretty. And so, they just mimic all this. Very cheap on our streets. This one bothers me. These all tested for fentanyl. And it looks like candy. Little mushroom erasers kids have, and then bracelets and all that. These are going for $1 on our street. So I always lecture everyone, we don't take anything from anyone unless it's labeled, sealed, packaged properly as you know it. If it smells bad or tastes bad, spit it out. Tell someone you know or trust, hey, watch me. Because if fentanyl's in there, you're going to go down quickly. And so it is getting in the schools. This is from Pennsylvania. They had 3 kids in a hallway unresponsive on the floor, rushed into the hospital. The kids tested for fentanyl. They tested the candy on them, and it tested for fentanyl. I would bet my life that's marijuana candy that someone put fentanyl powder on, and it got into the schools. And so there's the California on the bottom, but medicated, and the Z's. So you just have to pay attention to everything today. Another thing that also happened out of Pennsylvania middle school, 4 boys in a bathroom, unresponsive, blue lips, rushed to the hospital. They were sharing a vape. Something I wouldn't do, but do what you want. This had fentanyl and heroin, and the kids had fentanyl and heroin. Thank God they got them awake. So they are vaping fentanyl today. And a doctor friend of mine said, you need to talk about it to everyone, because if they're vaping fentanyl, they're probably going to die. But if you're in a smoke plume where they blow it out, you possibly could stop breathing too. And so we just need more science on all of this. We know about secondhand smoke and vape smoke. Now we need to start looking at stuff like this, because they are vaping everything. Like I said, even DMT. I got called into schools in north of Denver because they were testing for methamphetamine and heroin. So you can put any drug you want in a vape, and they certainly do. More candy stuff. What's wrong with this picture?
Jolly Ranchers.
Does Jolly Ranchers make an individually wrapped gummy? No, but who would even stop and pause and think about that? And so they're just trying to get everybody, and especially our kids. When I first showed this, a kid raised his hand and said, Lynn, I know what's wrong with that picture. If it's a bear, it's missing its ears. And then a kid said, well, that's because it's a groundhog. No, it's not. It's a beaver. No, I think it's a ferret. We had a 10-minute conversation on what it could be if it really had ears. But the bottom line is you got to pause today and think. Because they're coming after, especially our kids, because they get hooked sooner, they have more access to money, and they're much younger. So everything's marketed to the kids. Unfortunately, there are adulterants in fentanyl today. We're seeing a lot of the nitazines pop up, and they don't test for these, so that becomes a problem. It just flies under the radar. These are listed as novel psychoactive substances. You can buy them online, straight to your front door. RCs, research chemicals. They have no medical accepted use. They're 20 times more potent than fentanyl, and we're getting all the analogs of isotetonazine popping up now. And that is an issue. They're known on the street as the Frankenstein opioids because I guess Frankenstein's bigger and stronger too, and these are more potent than fentanyl. But again, not testing for it, so we don't really have a good idea of is it really fentanyl or is it any of these analogs. There's also the animal sedatives. You guys know xylazine? Animal sedative, and now we have the new one, medetomidine, that is veterinary use only, not used on humans, and it's very sedating, and it just drops them, and it's much more potent than fentanyl. People are seeking out xylazine because it has a longer high. They're mixing fentanyl with all the other drugs to make the high longer, because as an addict, do I want to have to be finding drugs every 2 hours? No, because then I got to find money or got to do something to get drugs or money, and here we go. So you put in drugs that last longer, and then everyone's happier. But this is absolutely sedating, like we talked about earlier. Here's the chemical structures because I'm a nerd. ISO is not identical to fentanyl, but it's close enough that it binds on the same receptors. It was created over 70 years ago as a pain relief medicine, but that didn't involve the poppy plant. And they never ever put it back on the market, but all this information starts showing up. It's got a lot of the same indicators. The big issues, they're just not testing for it, so you don't really know what you're using, but it is going to be much more potent. And then all the new analogs that are coming up are even more potent. We had a number of deaths up in Boulder from the newer ISOs, these analogs of it. Was it a year ago at Christmas, not this last Christmas, the year before. And coroners were calling me from all over the nation because I speak to them too. And they're like, well, how do we get the information? I said, call the coroner's office and ask where they got a sample to calibrate their equipment and get a sample and get your equipment calibrated. Because that's the only way we're going to know that somebody is under the influence, died from it, possesses it, whatever, unless everything, all the instrumentation is calibrated and up to date. Because when I worked for DEA, we made drugs 100% pure and then gave them to everybody across the nation that did drug testing so you could calibrate your equipment to be able to find it. And so those are out there. How's it coming on the streets? ISO is looking like Dilaudid. It also looks like brown heroin, a light brown powder, and then they're putting it now in capsules. And the capsules don't really look right, but people really don't pay attention. To me, it looks like chalk and maybe drywall ground up, but people will take it. And so just things that kind of fly under the radar, and it's a very rapid onset that can last for 8 hours or longer. Xylazine, you can order right online or go steal it from a veterinary clinic. That is a big issue, but you just order it online, very easy to get in a powder. You can get it in a liquid, you can get it as a crystalline substance. You can use it absolutely any way. They're mixing it with cocaine, and it's known as a speedball, because a speedball is a narcotic, which is a downer, and an upper, which is a stimulant. So like coke and heroin, meth and heroin is called a goofball, and so xylazine is that downer, stimulant is the cocaine, so they refer to speedballs that have xylazine in them today. And again, a very rapid onset. The high from this lasts much longer than other opioids, so they're now mixing other opioids in with it, like heroin and a number of the analogs. But not everyone that's using fentanyl is looking for xylazine, but you hear a lot about it on the streets. People wanting xylazine today, and it's very dangerous, obviously. It's not listed as a controlled substance, which becomes a big problem but the analogs are being mixed with it as well. And here is a vial of xylazine. It was actually created in 1962, but due to the harmful side effects, when they tested on humans, it never was approved for human use, only for veterinary use. The big issue with xylazine is it causes abscesses and rotting of the skin, ulcers on the skin. And our doctors are talking about it on the news in Denver all the time about it. I'd love to chat with your doctors down here and see if they're seeing it at all. But, you know, Gavin Penton obviously is coming back. You're seeing more of that. So are you guys ready for some sexy pictures today of disgusting tissue? Of course you are. Yeah, it's a Friday. It's a Thursday. It's Friday Eve. I don't even know what day it is. But anyway, here we go. It started in Puerto Rico. And they thought it has to do with the injection site. And so if they inject in their feet, it would rot their legs. Well, in the U.S., we have found out that is not true. Even if you snort xylazine, it finds a weakness in the tissue and starts rotting it. So that is Puerto Rico. Here's the U.S. And they call it the zombie drug because it's an anesthesia. It stiffens them, and you see them in the street just out. I couldn't sit like that on the bottom right if somebody sat on my back. And so, you know, they just drop in these weird positions, and they're there for hours until it starts wearing off. Here's some of the disgusting pictures of the skin, and the doctor's saying holes in the skin, as it starts to heal. So if you like really disgusting pictures, just Google it. But this is causing a lot of health issues, obviously, impacting the healthcare community. So be careful when you're out working with people. The fentanyl analogs, the big ones, is started with alpha methylfentanyl, and then they broke it into 3-methylfentanyl, which is more potent. So this stuff is just very potent and not testing for it. There is a ton of this out there. We had a problem with U47700. U47700 was actually created by Upjohn Pharmaceuticals in the early 70s, and they didn't put it on the market after testing it on humans because it only stayed in the system for like 45 minutes. And so they felt that there would be big addiction with it. If it only helps for 45 minutes, people would take too much. Well, what happens is all these companies didn't re-up the patenting, and so companies in China find the patent, have the recipe, all the information on it, they make it and sell it illegally now. It's called Pink or Pinky on the street, and we've had a lot of deaths in Colorado from them pressing it in pills or mixing with heroin and other substances. And then purple heroin is out there as well. That's just a cocktail of drugs. Carfentanil is a very big issue. Do you guys remember during COVID we had a robbery at the zoo? And they stole carfentanil from the large animal exhibit. Well, why would they do that? That stuff is 10,000 times more potent than morphine. Fentanyl is, 50 to 100? So if I have a caplet of carfentanil and I powder it out and I have a gram, well, if 6 grains of salt will kill a human, I can cut, and I have hundreds of thousands of doses I can get on the street. And so it doesn't take a lot of carfentanil, and it is back in this state. Again, we've had a lot of deaths. Before COVID, we were hearing about it, and there were deaths from it. So that's how much of the narcotics are deadly, and, you know, the more potent, obviously, more deadly. I don't know if you guys have seen the wall of fentanyl, but it's tragic and impressive at the same time. It's in the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., where there are over 90,000 pictures on there, and they have a section for toddlers and teens, and both of those are full. It's absolutely tragic how many people we're losing from this, but DEA finally came out and said fentanyl is the single deadliest drug threat this nation has ever encountered, and no community is safe. So hats off to all of you for doing something like this, because I cannot tell you how many places I go and they say, well, you can't talk about these things. We don't want to give anyone ideas. I said, if that is your answer to me, you already have it and you just don't want to deal with it. So, you know, thank you guys for coming here and doing this, because education truly is key, because this is dropping people like crazy. And, you know, people are playing with their lives today with this fentanyl. I tell them it's like Russian roulette, and there's not one bullet in the chamber, there's 5. And so we know that because of the number of people dying from this on a daily basis. So very, very potent stuff. And Narcan, someone's going to talk about Narcan, right? So I can skip over this. Say my lovely friends there from the health department are freaking rock stars. And so you'll learn about that, but also the test strips. Make sure you have them. Make sure you give them out. I wish we had better ones, and I don't really like these because you have to touch the drug. As a drug, if you're testing it, or if I was testing it with the cops today, you got to have gloves, you got to have a mask on, because you got to break up a pill, you got to break up a joint, you got to break up a crystal. So those outside, we have to touch it and then test for it. But it's all we got. So we should all be promoting them because apparently they have a good rate of positives. So the bottom line is the things that drive me crazy is all the over-the-counter stuff that mimics an opioid. Oh my God, I have 5 minutes. Are you serious? Okay, I guess I'm not going to get through this, but we're going to fly. So these all have similar effects to opioids, okay? The big one is Imodium AD. They will eat 200, 250 pills, and it has full opioid activity. It also is very deadly. We know therapeutically, if you take it normal, that's fine. The rest, overdose results in death. All this is in your handout. It does cause pulmonary and cerebral edema. There have been multiple deaths from this. I've had treatment companies call me and go, treatment facilities call me and go, we saw you talk about 6 months ago. Now, what was it about Imodium? And I tell them, they're like, oh, thank you. I said, why did you call me? They said, because the dad just brought his son 10 boxes of it, and his son wants it immediately. I said, you probably shouldn't give it to him. So they changed all their protocol, not allowing people to bring this in. So if you see a lot of empty blister packs or empty bottles of Imodium, that ain't normal. You have an opioid user, and they're either not getting their drugs or they're trying to, stay out of withdrawal until they can't get their drugs. So all this will be there, but they failed, unresponsive, cardiac arrest, all that stuff, all the death information on it with cerebral and pulmonary edema, all the studies they've done on it. The big one is kratom, and kratom is absolutely everywhere. This is plant material indigenous to Southeast Asia and Thailand. There's over 25 alkaloids in this. The most active is mitragynine. You can order it online. You can make a tea out of it. You can put it in capsules. You'll double dose, because if I drink a tea or take a capsule and don't feel it, then 30 minutes I take another one. And so you can be high much longer than 6 hours. Here are some of the products. Max Out kind of sounds like, a workout product. Nope, it's a ton of kratom. It is in gummies. It is in shots. This is a warning that basically says if you have anything in life, you probably shouldn't use it. That's their warning on the label. There are these tinctures and shots everywhere, which are concentrated kratom. They're mixing with kava. Kava is plant material that should never be mixed with anything sedating. And kratom is like morphine. It's very, very sedating. It has full opioid activity. They say pop them with Narcan. Here are the pills coming out, and these are very potent. This is synthetic 7-hydroxy mitragynine. This is not naturally occur in the plant. You guys know all the Delta 10, Delta 11, Delta 8, all that stuff with the marijuana, THC, you guys know what I'm talking about? That is made, man-made. That is synthetic. It is not in the plant itself. This isn't either, but look at all the pills. The red one in the middle that says, or the red one there next to the green on the bottom, the On7, that is pseudo-red. What's red? Pseudoephedrine capsules. So they're mimicking it, making it mimic pills people recognize. So you just got to pay attention to all this. And there's your chemical structure. All they do is move a bond, and this has a much higher affinity to those opioid receptors than mitragynine does. And so it is extremely potent. No studies on this, and it's not controlled by the FDA. One's marketed to our kids. Definitely hit them with Narcan. EMS has said you may need a large amount of it too. So just pop them. All the indicators will be in the handout. At the very beginning, they act like they're on coke. They're excited, talkative, in your face, argumentative, and then they just drop out. And they're asleep and groggy, then they come to. RERs see it in the metro on a daily basis, multiple times a day. They do have overdose of this where they're delusional. They're very aggressive and combative. ER docs are strapping them down for their safety and the safety of the personnel from the ERs. They do have a lot of paranoia with this and vomiting like crazy. I have 1 minute, so I don't know what you want me to talk about in 1 minute. So let me just go. This is the gas station stuff that'll be in your handout. What do those pills look like on the bottom left there? Tylenol. That is gas station heroin that kills people. I bought it for $18 at a gas station. So pay attention to pills. I'll have to send you a separate handout. Some of it is in the handout already, but I want to go to all the hiding stuff. This is in a shop here, just so you know. This has illegal drugs in it that are illegal in the United States, coming out of Russia, that are deadly. And it's in one of your gas stations. Don't take this home with you. Make up a personal decon bag. Have bottles of water if you're going home. So if you have a scratchy throat, you can drink it, or if you spill something on it, get it off your skin. Towels, extra pair of shoes, wet wipes to wipe your shoes or your hands or anything, nitrile gloves, change of clothes, trash bags to sit on, or if you have to take kids out of the home, that too. These blank papes are popping up. It's like potato starch where you put drugs in and then you swallow it. And so it'll hold up to 5 grams. A gram is about a sugar packet. That's a lot of dope. And so they market it, put your medication in it. Are you serious? It already comes in a capsule. And so things to look for, they are vaping everything. This is a vape. It is actually a highlighter that they vape. So check all the school supplies today, because they have chapstick, they have car keys, all of this is a vape. Here's more vape stuff looking like pens. Go to Etsy if you're a fan of that, because there's an entire section on how to hide drugs and vapes on Etsy. Look at the one on the top. Beautiful jewelry. Shove your vape in it and wear it, and that's your jewelry. It'll blow your mind what's out there. What's this look like? That's actually a vape device. Here's another one. Here's my cosmonaut friend. He's not a toy. He is a vape device, and his head lights up if you push a button. Look at everything. Tampon. Boost tubes, tampon sleeves, everyone has to look at today. It's a great way to hide alcohol and drugs. They're called tampon flasks. That doesn't go right in my mind. But yeah, whatever. You can buy them anywhere at the gas station. You can order them online. Just stay home and order everything. There are tubes, which are in tampon sleeves, and they're thicker to hide the odor of pot. But look at everything. Car keys to hide drugs. The one thing you have to look at is hairbrushes, because this flies under the radar. Just open it up and check it out. If you're dealing with middle schoolers and they have keys on them, you might want to take them apart, because I'm pretty sure they don't drive, even down here. The pens with the glass in the middle is LSD, so be careful. They'll hide LSD tabs in there, because LSD will go through plastic. All the new water bottles that you drink out of. There are phones that are vaping devices that you put on your phone. It's an iPhone cover. They also have a vape watch, because why not? We have every other kind of watch. So take everything apart. The vape hoodie, where to look for clothing, the hats that hide the stuff. There are backpacks. They're supposed to be smell proof. I don't know about that, but there will be residue on the outside when law enforcement deals with them, test them. The spray guard is very, very popular. I see it in the schools like crazy. I have to call the kids on it, because with spray guard, there's a hiding stash pocket. And if you find the card and send it to them, they send you a prize. So they are specifically knowing that there's hiding places in these, and they reward them for finding them. More smell-proof stuff, stash clothing. There's all kinds of socks that you can buy with zippers in them. And you put your dope in there and roll your socks up. Smell-proof backpacks too. And the shoes. The tongue of the shoe now is very, very common. Even Nike has a set of shoes that look in the tongue of every shoe that's out there. So in a very fast way, that's all I got to say about that. If you ever want to make meth, I'm better than Martha Stewart in the meth labs. I am the Martha Stewart meth labs. I can break bad better than break bad breaks bad. I'm so sorry this all went kind of crazy and I had to talk fast. Do you have any questions? Some of you look like you want to go lock up your kids and go home and drink. I lost you on slide 4 where everything goes up the keister. Come and see me. Come see me again, because I have stalkers in this room that have seen me 8 or 9 times, because I lose you way too often. So, any questions? Do they have online questions?
There are a couple of online questions. Thank you, Lynn. I was actually at dinner last night, and this whole time I'm going to the hot shop, so I was really bummed we actually didn't go. So I would go, Lynn, maybe field trip after this.
Yeah, we all should go in a pot shop. They would be so happy. Oh my God, we're going to make money today, and we're all going to get thrown out behind there. So, yes. So we have a question.
Yes, the first online question is, how are these being allowed to be sold at gas stations right out in front? Are they regulated?
They are not regulated, and that's the problem. There was a recall of tianatapine. It's now a shot. And instead of having a recall, how about the FDA banning it? And so there are a lot of FDA warnings out there because they're testing it, but they're not regulating it or banning it in any way. So that's why it flies under the radar. And most people would never know what's in there unless you start Googling the chemicals, and I'm that nerd. So
So then there's a comment that you did a great job and maybe you have another potential stalker. Somebody else wants to.
oh, yes, I love stalkers. You all can be my stalkers. Except you. You'll have to arrest them for being my stalker.
All right.
Just
And we've
kidding.
got a question in the room.
Yes.
Lynn, thank you so much.
Oh,
What a
thank you.
powerful presentation. Next time, a couple of hours, I think, is very pertinent because that information is just kind of going over our head. And
Right.
yeah, we probably you probably lost us on slide number 2. But
Yes.
here's my question to you is with the decriminalization of some of the possession of drugs in Colorado, have you seen an increase of challenging cases through the court systems, as well as the pressure that is putting on law enforcement throughout the state of Colorado? That's question one. And the second, I think this presentation should be absolutely fantastic to every elected official throughout the state of Colorado.
I would be happy and honored to do one. So I don't know a lot about the courts, but I do know that what started the fentanyl issue in Colorado was Governor Polis decriminalized our Schedule I and Schedule II drugs in 2017. And the amount you can have before you go to jail is 4 grams. Well, if I have 4 grams of fentanyl, I can probably make 100,000 doses. And so, if we're not with, you probably make 5,000 doses with that, but they buy kilos and you have hundreds of thousands of doses. So I could have 5,000 doses of fentanyl and not go to jail. I get a ticket, I pay my fine, and I buy 4 more grams. So the decriminalizing of drugs, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours, I think that was a big part of it. Because you can't give them consequences today, which are so important. As far as law enforcement, I know you guys are, do you want to answer the law enforcement question? Because I'm sure you guys see it like you haven't seen before, all drugs.
I mean, it makes it tough on us, especially when people turn to us and say, well, how come you're not getting people off the street? Like I said, yeah, it does make it tough on us to help clean up this problem that we have. And it's, well, you just gave them a ticket and you're letting them get away with it. I just enforce what I'm told I'm allowed to enforce. The state has made their choices, and they kind of reverted a little bit back with fentanyl this couple of years ago, where it was like, oh, oops, we kind of messed up. So
Yeah, but you guys are fighting to get no amount with doctors. No amount should be
exactly
legal, and they
Should
dropped
be.
it to 1 gram.
Yeah, so
So you can still make a nice number of doses
right,
with
and
that.
then once it gets out of our hands and into the judicial system, that's a different story. Like you said, like I can't speak for what happens there. So
Yeah, so did that answer your question? That was a great question. Yeah, so, I'm not against decriminalizing drugs as long as we have treatment or something set up. But just to decriminalize them so more people can have more doesn't make it any better. It just creates bigger problems. And so I am all for treatment because treatment works, but we have to have that conversation too because there's such a stigma around it, which, I'm always telling the kids in school, and I tell them every day, if you're hurting, find someone to talk to. So if we can break that stigma of just it's okay to ask for help, maybe we can start on some bigger ones as well.
The only thing else online was if they could get a copy of the presentation, and so I'm seeing head nods, yes.
Are they getting it from that?
Yeah, the handout. that
Any
you
other
sent.
questions?
Oh, the handout is not, I don't give the presentation out.
Yeah, no. We have a handout.
They have a handout.
And the handout's available virtually for the,
Yes, we'll be sending that out after the presentations.
okay, so there is the presentation is not given out, and I remember that actually. But there is a handout, and that will be given virtually as well for those that are, or electronically, for those attending virtually.
Well, thank you guys. If you see something crazy at the gas stations or your kids order something, you're like, what the heck is this? Send me a picture, man. There's my information. I read labels for like all the schools. The what's the guys that do the sports? The athletic directors text me all the time. Hey, what's this chemical? I research it. I'm like, let me guess. Athlete, it's a performance enhancing drug. So yeah, I'll read labels for you guys anytime, but just pay attention to the stuff's out there because it really is flying under the radar and hurting people. Like nobody wants to talk about either. So thank you guys for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you, Lynn, so much. We really appreciate the information. We're going to go ahead and take a break now. We'll come back at 10 o'clock. So please get up, stretch. There's caffeine in the back. Help yourselves. And then at that time, we'll start our next presentation. Thank you all so much.